Doctor, please just tell us a little bit about how you meet your pretty wife.
Thank you. Actually, this work, I think sometime in 1991, through a friend, Adobe by name. I think I visited her. Then Yugee was in her place. They are friends. And I got to know that she's from Abreba. Wow. Yeah, because my resolve was, and I think is, to marry an Abreba person.
Wow.
For some obvious reasons.
Deep calleth unto deep, the spirit leading you. Wow. How many years have you been married?
May 6th will make us 27 years in marriage.
27 good years. Wow. This is interesting.
You know, we just became friends. It was as the days went by, and I started seeing some of the things I loved in him.
You know, love started coming up gradually. Wow. This is interesting. Doctor, what will you consider has been the greatest challenge you've ever faced in your marriage?
One, given the society we come from, one may consider the greatest challenge to be that of having children. Not as if we had disagreement between ourselves, but the influence of relations. But like I said, between us, it wasn't an issue, so to speak.
I can see David. So what actually happened?
Oh, David came after almost 22 years after we got married.
Wow, 22 years. I can just imagine the pressure, what? After 22 years. This is interesting. I believe somebody out there is listening. You've been married for 10 years, no issue, and feels as if this is the end of the world. Wow. Man, I'm challenged today. I'm really challenged. Wow. This is interesting. I mean, every statement you guys have made is loaded with inspiration and silent teaching. It's left for anybody that wants to pick something from it to pick. God bless you. Okay, what's that single thing that if you remember it, that's happened in your marriage, it always brings a smile to your face each time you remember it?
Well, one thing that has happened in my marriage that each time I remember it brings a smile is the coming forth of David. From one place to the other, one hospital to the other. We did IVF. It did not work out. But I thank God that after 22 years, we had David. I want to say that amid that 22 years, during those 22 years, there was no time we quarreled about children. The love was still there. We were still holding on to God and holding on to each other. Nobody, I can make boast to say that nobody has ever come into our home, no third party has ever come into our home to settle any kind of dispute. If there was any dispute, we settle. Even the people we live with don't even know whether there was any kind of quarrel, but we do have quarrels, but we settle in our bedroom. But one other thing that brings smiles and kind of brings, each time I remember it, whether I'm outside or inside, I just give a silent smile. My husband is a very shy person. There are things he does not do outside. So one of the days, I think after leading in worship, we went for fellowship, and I was the one that led in worship. After leading in worship, I came outside. I was walking towards the car, and I just saw my husband open his thinking, oh my God, is this man? It was, I was like calling everybody, hey, come and see you. I was like mad, you know. Is this really the man I married? I was so happy. So each time I remember that one act, Jesus Christ, I smile anywhere I am. So that's another thing. Oh Lord. Each time I see him, I see all the seeds we have sown manifest in him. You know, each time I see him, I see some part of me, I see some part of my husband.
Please, I know your husband is shy, I know he's a wonderful man, but how do you handle him when he's crazy? I mean, his crazy moments.
Actually, in his crazy moments, I just keep quiet. I don't answer, I just keep quiet. Because, sometimes when you answer, you aggravate whatever the issue is. I just keep silent. That's what I do.
So when you keep silent, does it calm him down?
Even if he's, angry and talking, and with that silence, if there are other things he needed to say, he may not just say it the way it is in his heart. He'll just, later on, we'll just talk it over and make up.
So it works for you?
Yes, it does.
And it makes the marriage peaceful?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
What I do most times is take a walk. I'll leave that place for her to ensure that one don't get involved by saying things you may regret. If we're in the room and there's an outburst, I'll just take a walk to the living room, stay there for some time. In some cases, when I come back, she will ask me if I've finished running. Then quietness will just be the response. And it's been working.
Wow. And each time it happens, it calms the situation down.
For sure.
Oh,
Because
that's good.
the individual you want to show things to has gone. So, and if it's even possible, maybe lock up a room and remain there just to calm the situation.
That means you've really studied your wife very well.
Well, 27 years is a long time.
Wow. So you have a mumu button. Oh, that's great. That's great. Will you say that you're more in love now with your wife now than when you started?
Yes, more love now, very well.
I would say that I am more in love because I have learned so much from him, I have seen so much from him, and this love keeps growing. That's just what I want to say. Love keeps growing.
In this life is full of decision making, and sometimes your husband will not be there when you're about to make an important decision, and you take that decision hoping that you're going to tell him, and when you come back, tell him, honey, see what I did, see the decision I've taken on so and so. I thought I'll tell you after. And he tells you he doesn't agree with you. What happens?
Most of the times, if he's not there, I can call him on phone. Where maybe he doesn't answer or I don't call him on phone, if I take that decision and I come home and say, this is the decision I've taken, and he kicks against it, just like I said, I'll just keep quiet. After a long while, I'll just go and give him reasons why I took that decision. And I would say 90% of the times he will now understand me and say, okay, let's go your way, let's do it your way. And we do it that way.
So that means he cuts you some slacks. Wow, this is getting more and more interesting,
But in a case where maybe I've taken a decision and she objects to it, I may say to her that the Lord said I should do so. where it's not a situation of that kind, I reconsider my decision so as to carry her along.
I like that word, carry her along. Wow, wow. Has there been a time, that was necessary for you to defend your husband? From family members or from outsiders, in public or in private? I mean, just tell us about it.
Yes. There was this time some years back, one of my cousins came crying and crying. I said, what happened? He said, is this happening and you never told me? Never told me. I said, what? She said a whole lot of things that I was, wow, what is happening? Who told you this? She said a certain lady told her, blah, 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 blah. I was so vexed because that kind of thing never happened. I went straight to the lady's house. I knocked, I took my cousin, I knocked. She opened the door. I said, excuse me, madam. You said this. She said she heard, blah, blah. I said, my husband, me, there has never been a time such a thing happened. And let me tell you, those people you have told, go back and tell them it's not so. And those people you're here to tell, just know now that such a thing never happened. I accosted her, even she was now pleading that she's sorry. I came back home and told my husband, he was so proud of me.
Wow. This is interesting.
And another thing, where my husband defended, maybe he has forgotten. One of the days, when we got married newly, relatives and all that. One of the relatives, my husband was just coming into the kitchen. She just came and, opened, I was cooking. She just opened the pot of soup I was cooking. Hey, what are you cooking? My husband just dragged her and said, please, I was overhearing them. Don't open my wife's pot of soup. Don't even try it again. Behind, I was just saying, that's my husband.
Yes.
That's my husband. And one of the days, one of the cousins came. I just went to the table, dished food for her, set table for her. Young lady, set table for her. After eating, she just left the plate on the table and went and sat down, maybe wanting me to come and carry it. My husband just walked up to her saying, please go and clear that table. My wife cannot set table for you and clear the table for you also. That place, I was just saying, that's my husband. That's my husband.
I'm already proud of him. Even from you telling the stories, I'm already proud of him.
I was newly married then. I said, that's my husband. He's putting his feet down. Because if you leave them and your wife keeps doing all those things, before you know it, they will turn her to a slave. So he did those things for me, and each time I remember it, I'm proud.
This story is already making me to be proud of you.
I think he has forgotten, but I still remember those things.
Yes, you're refreshing our mind and his memory too.
Yes.
Sometimes, sharing things like this, revives a lot of past precious moments that we may have forgotten.
Yes.
It brings them up again, and sometimes, softens our heart again. And
Yes.
This issue of falling in love with your husband or your wife over and over again now starts coming up. You start remembering all those things that made your heart fond of him or her earlier on. Wow, this is interesting. Does God have a place in your relationship with your husband?
The fear of God is there. If I do this, what will happen? How will God see it? There are certain decisions you want to take and you say, no, as a Christian, I'm not supposed to do this in this home. So we place God first. Whatever we are doing in our relationship with each other, relationship with others, things we do together, we put God first.
Without God in this relationship, it will have been zero. So he has the number one place. And he has been our keeper and our sustainer. Turbulent time comes, with him in front, there is stabilization.
God has a big place in this home.
This one is the best husband ever.
Wow.
This one is your own. This one is the best wife ever that you'll be hearing.
Thank you very much.
Marriage is beautiful, marriage is appreciating, marriage is encouraging, marriage is from God, the one I